in this video. Hello everybody and welcome to the 50th video of the channel. That is amazing and it marks a pretty big milestone in my journey for creating content for y'all. So I really would like to thank you, and I'd like to take this chance to thank you for watching these videos. Anyone who's always been watching these videos since day one. Thank you for all my subscribers, all the people who've commented, and all the people who've tried and appreciated and helped me along this journey. Thank you so much, everyone. And right now, this unit is about introductory trigonometry. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And let's get right into it. Alright, for today, our lesson is pretty simple. It relates around one formula. Sine of theta squared plus cosine of theta squared is equal to 1. Before I go on to explaining much of it or proving it, I would like to say that this formula is one of the most basic trigonometry formulas. It's very basic, very easy to understand, very easy to pick up. It uses some familiar geometry logic, and I think it is necessary for all those who want to learn trigonometry. And this is very used in geometry proofs because there is a little bit of trigonometry in more of the advanced geometry proofs, and this formula is probably one of the most used, if not the most used formula in all of trigonometry and for geometry proofs. So let's go on to explain this formula. Now, it's a sine of theta squared. Now, you may be like, wait, what? That's a trigonometric function? How do you square it? Blah, blah, blah. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a function, like x squared. So, all you have to do is square it. It's pretty straightforward logic, but I've seen a lot of people kind of like stumble and they're not really sure what this is. Another way you might have seen it being written is sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. Now, they're the same thing, and this is actually the method I prefer to use, but I decided to use the one which I'm circling in red because I think it's easier for beginners to pick up, because if I say sine squared theta, it's a little more complicated versus if I say sine theta and square that entire thing. Now, I would like to make the difference between sine theta whole square and sine theta squared. Now, normally you can't really square an angle, so this is not really seen a lot, but in calculus or in very complicated integration problems, you actually will see this, and I think it's very necessary for you to know the difference in higher math. But if we ever get to that stage, and if I create videos by then, I will definitely explain the difference in more detail. So let's get about to proving this formula. So it's actually quite a simple proof, and it relies on the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So actually, I'd like to start with that. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to divide both sides by c squared, which we get a squared divided by c squared plus b squared divided by c squared. Alright, then what we're going to do is we're going to do a divided by c, and then just put this whole squared. This is just a simple algebra rule. And b over c whole squared is equal to 1. Now, a over c, as you might know if you watched my previous video, this is another shameless plug, but please make sure to watch my last video. It's very beneficial. And of course, it's just another shameless plug. But what I'm trying to do is quite simple, actually. I'm trying to convert this into a form where we can do sine theta and cosine theta, because that's what's there. So, we have sine theta whole squared plus cosine theta whole squared is equal to 1. Now, that is our formula, and that is a very simple proof using the Pythagorean theorem. So, I think that's about it, but there are a few more things I'd like to say before I end the video. Number one, I wouldn't call it versions of this, but I would say that there's some formulas similar to it. Like, if I remember correctly, tangent squared theta plus 1 is equal to secant squared theta. This is another thing that this is another more advanced formula. but it kind of follows the same logic, which is kind of like it relates to the triangle. And it relates to the triangle, so I just like to put that in. And this is also quite beneficial for proving other trigonometric formulas, which we might get into in trigonometry, but that might not really be needed for geometry. And of course, in any geometry proofs, I'll always make sure to explain the other trigonometry concept that's not part of the basic trigonometry videos that I've already done. Now, one last thing before I end the video, I would like to show the connection to the unit circle. So if we draw a unit circle like this, just quickly do this, and then if we have this is the center, and we draw a line outwards, the radius, and then draw a line down to the center. Here, this is our angle theta, A, B, C, as always. Pretty standard stuff. So the C is actually 1, and C is actually 1 because that's why it's called the unit circle, because it's normally very easy to do this. I might have touched on this in my last video, but I'd like to make a more clear point. So sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. That would be made a little more clear, because if we did a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, that's already a squared plus b squared is equal to 1. And then a over c, you can say this is a over c because that's 1, and then do sine and cosine theta. So that's also quite simple, and it definitely plays a role in the unit circle. So I think that's one last thing I should touch up on, and I think that's good. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.